What's up, EA Sports fans? Welcome to our first Playbook webcast. This is the NCAA Football 13 Sights and Sounds webcast. Is Playbook number 1. Joining me to my far right, producer Ben Homeler. Everybody knows this guy. What's up, Ben?
Nothing much. What's going on?
I'm excited to be here. Also, new art director, Jeff Ostergaard. What's up? How are you?
Good, good.
So, since you're kind of the new guy on campus, to borrow the phrase, why don't you tell us a little bit of your background? Where'd you start here at EA Sports, and how'd you get into this?
Well, I'm not exactly a rookie. I've been behind the scenes working on Madden, NCAA, all of our products actually throughout the studio as the lighting director for the last 7 years. So prior to that, I've been working side by side with all the art directors, so it was actually a really easy transition. But I bring a little bit more. I bring a big college fandom coming from Ohio State, and again, a passion for football, as well as the art direction side. So looking forward to change it up on NCAA 13.
Excellent. And what we're going to show you guys today is the sights and sounds of EA Sports NCAA Football 13. What's changed, like all the new stuff. But also we've got Christian McLeod on the audio side. He's going to join us a little bit later. And you're going to present to us what you've been presenting internally.
Yep.
Like this is pretty much the first time we've ever done this in this studio, presenting kind of a deck that or a presentation that only people within the studio have seen. So we're kind of giving people that behind-the-scenes access for you guys, the fans. Very excited about that. Also, I've got to tell you to go make sure and vote on the cover. You, the fans, have been voting over the past 3 weeks for one of 8 former Heisman Trophy winners to join Robert Griffin III, who's visible over here to my right, on the cover of NCAA Football 13. The final round has come down to Herschel Walker and Barry Sanders. Who do you guys like for this right now?
Well, I mean, I think we all knew it was going to come down to this, right? I mean, even I knew Charlie was going to go so far, but not all the way. I mean, Barry's been phenomenal so far. Herschel's been great, too. They're both awesome choices. But, I mean, Barry's my guy, right?
I picked Barry from the beginning, but...
Barry walks softly.
You think so?
I'm pushing for Barry.
We'll see. Voting will be closed at the end of the day today, so be sure to go to the NCAA Football Facebook page and cast your votes today. As I said, voting ends like at midnight today, so be sure to do that. We will announce the winner of that on April 16th. I've also got to mention a couple of pre-order bonuses for those wanting to do so. If you go to GameStop, you're going to get the Heisman Challenge 3-player pack of Mark Ingram, Tim Tebow, and Matthew Leinart. What do you think of that?
That's a great lineup.
Yeah. Just wait. This is going to be a tough decision for some people. Best Buy offering the 5-star quarterback special. Then we've got Walmart with the Prima Digital Mini Guide. So if you're a guy who wants to get in there and check out the strategy guides, you might want to do that one. And then Amazon with 5 Nike Pro Combat downloadable uniforms. You've got Army, University of Georgia, Oklahoma State, Oregon, and Michigan State. Christian's alma mater there. So let's go ahead and get into this, shall we?
Let's do it.
Be sure to send your questions to us at the hashtag NCAA Football 13, by the way. And we will get to those questions in the podcast, which is new on Thursdays. Now that I've teased all that, let's go ahead and check out the sites of NCAA Football 13.
Let's jump into it. Really excited, guys, to show you some of the things that we've been working on for the last few months. And again, this being our first announcement of many of these things. So let's just jump into it. So first, I'd like to talk to you a little bit about some of the lighting enhancements that we've done this year. We definitely did not take our foot off the gas this year with lighting and rendering. As you know, many of you know, last year we introduced HDR lighting. Well, this year we've taken it a step further and we've added lighting blending. So what this means, I'm going to run a video here to show you guys. So this is a concept mock done months ago, and what traditionally you're seeing right now in game is at the quarter or at the half, you'll notice a big change in the lighting. Well, all that's gone away now. You're going to notice natural transitions where the sun just naturally comes across the sky. You see the stadium shadows come across the field, but all of this is progressing play after play, just as you would see if you were there on the field.
Let me stop you right here. I do have to mention all footage is a work in progress. Am I correct? So this is not final. If you're seeing anything in this deck, just know that this is still early on in the process. Also, can you explain in layman's terms what HDR is for those?
What is HDR?
Because you guys introduced it last year,
right,
but you've done some improvements to it this year.
We have. So HDR, as we know it, it's really basically camera exposure. So if you look at the game, and if you're in our instant replay cam, and you look up at the sky, and then you come back down to the stadium, you'll notice the camera re-exposed for those shadows. Or when you look up at the sky, the camera re-exposes for those clouds. Again, it's the difference between light and shadow, and us being able to adjust to that. So we get a much larger visual range overall, so that we can make sure that we're seeing the details that we put all this hard work into. So in addition to the blending lighting, the lighting blending, it doesn't stop there. We've actually gone ahead and also taken our sky texture and completely reauthored it, so that this is being played at like 10 times speed, but you'll notice that we now have moving clouds in our game. So you're getting a different experience every time you're marching down the field, different cloud variations. So again, adding variety overall to gameplay.
I think that's one of the things that's really important, though, is because in the past couple of years, it's been very abrupt, that quarter change break like you were talking about. And
exactly.
It just kind of killed it, though. We hit that end of first quarter, and all of a sudden it went from light to dusk, or from dusk to dark, and it was so abrupt. So seeing those change on a play-by-play basis would be a huge addition.
Exactly. We'd lose that illusion, and now it's a natural progression, natural transition. So jumping a little more into the HDR reference. So this year we introduced a new physically based workflow, and this is the first time this workflow is being introduced throughout any of our sports titles. So it's a two-part solution. One is the new Sphere on VR camera. What that allowed us to do was to go out to each of these stadiums and capture lighting over the course of a day, but also from a very large number of f-stops. So you'll notice here in this image, you'll see all these smaller images. Well, that's representing a range from the brightest to the darkest that you would see on any given point in the day. And what this allows us to do was tune the HDR lighting better than we have in the past, because now we have accurately what is the ideal exposure, what is the minimum, and what is the maximum exposure. So again, now when you're in the game, the camera's going to react more naturally, as if a camera operator were right there, readjusting the exposure all throughout the game. And then again, here's another reference, HDR reference, using this new physically based workflow, where we've gone and we photographed all of our uniforms and did the same thing. So now we know when a white uniform starts to turn gray, and when a white uniform blows out completely and we lose all the detail. So again, making sure that our assets are looking great within this new HDR range. So I'm a little bit excited to share with this one. So this is our new rendering feature for the year, and this is motion blur. We've been wanting to get this in for many cycles, and you'll notice just here in this image, in the upper right-hand corner, you'll actually see the hands being a little bit blurred. So what is motion blur? Motion blur is, you'll see a subtle blur on any object that's moving fast, or if the camera happens to move fast, you'll see the background start to blur. So here's a video demonstrating just what it does. So again, this is an instant replay. We're going slow motion at the moment. But as the characters speed up, you'll notice the textures on the feet or the edge of the actual player itself starts to blur. And again, the faster the player moves, the more motion blur you're actually going to see. So again, this overall helps us perceive the motion as faster, smoother, in addition to all the new gameplay improvements and animations that we've added this year. So visually, we're just supporting.
Okay, so he's not blurry as much, like right here at the beginning of the clip that's looping, and then as he starts getting going faster, that's kind of the effect of it.
Exactly. You just got to watch those legs and those arms, and you start to see him blur out.
And that won't affect any still frames either. So if you're taking screenshots, you're not going to have any knock-on kind of blur effect. So if you're a fan of showing off the photographic side of NCAA, you're not going to be at a loss because of this new feature.
Exactly. So let's get into some of the details and the depth of our product. So traditions. What is NCAA without traditions? And this year we've gone after several more. To begin, again, I'd like to show you some of the work in progress and concept art that we had from earlier on in the year. And of course, everybody's familiar with the UT cheerleaders in chaps. Here is a work in progress video of those girls getting into game. In addition to the UT cheerleaders this cycle, we've also added the USC Song Girls. And on screen now you'll actually see some of the mascots that we've added. Reveille from Texas A&M. And here's another shot of Reveille getting textured. Again, these are our early concepts from earlier this year. Further moving on to the mascots, here's an example of Big Red for Western Kentucky.
And this is the first time he's been in the game.
This is the first time he's been in the game, correct?
You remember? I might remember him from that This Is SportsCenter commercial a few years ago
yes.
when he ate Jim Kelly's Hall of Fame jacket. So we finally got him added in, so it's nice.
Definitely want to play with him in the mascot game. Continuing with the traditions, as I mentioned, the USC Song Girls. Here's an early sculpt of the Song Girls, and then on the left-hand side, you'll see a textured version of the USC Song Girls. This particular process of getting these girls into game took us about 2 weeks for the sculpt, and then the texture about another 1 or 2 days, going back and forth between the sculpt and the textures. Here's a screenshot of those girls in game.
Wow. So yeah, I mean, this is really talking about the depth we're going into for each school to try and show off what makes them unique and special. It's something we always talk about every year. And so, with A&M, they don't have cheerleaders at all, so we don't have them in the game. But for Texas and for SC, they've got something special and unique because we want to have that represented in the game.
Moving forward, more traditions. Again, there's quite a few that we've gotten in this year. The Boilermaker, Victorian Train. We've got the Army, Navy, and Air Force paratroopers or cadets parachuting into the stadium. You'll also see mascots in the lower right-hand corner, also paratrooping or parachuting into the stadiums.
And that paratrooper actually is borrowed from Battlefield 3.
It is.
We got the asset from them. We're able to kind of use that. It's kind of the nice part about working here. Yeah, took that away, exactly. Yeah, but it's kind of one of the cool things about working in the studio and working with all these other game teams is, we can share some assets with them. And so this is a spot where they already had this guy created. We could pull it over from them and be able to use it in game.
Very cool.
So here's a shot of the Army cadet coming into our stadium at West Point.
So we don't have the variation where they get tripped up and caught up in the scoreboard. I think that happened a couple of years ago for one of the games. So yeah, the mascot flying in, got caught up in the scoreboard. So we decided to keep that one out, though. That
part got left out this year.
I'm always impressed with the way these guys are able to control them the way they do.
So moving on, we've added a number of new trophies this year and updated them. And what's special this cycle is not only have we taken those trophies and made them life-size, but we're including them in all of our college traditions, specifically the rivalries, the championship celebrations, as well as our bowl game celebrations. So, everything from the Little Brown Jug to the Shillelagh to the Paul Bunyan Axe, they're now all in game this year.
One cool part, too, you're seeing the ACC crown being held up there. This has been done for schools that have conference championship games, that have on-field promotions like this as well. But even because of custom conferences, you can turn a conference like the Sun Belt into a 12-plus school league that would have an on-game presentation in a championship game. So they're going to have that as well. So we're kind of creating that scene for everybody.
Oh, nice.
So if you make that conference a game that has a championship game, you're going to see that on-field showing.
Uniforms. Again, last year was no joke when it came to uniforms in the college football. Again, it was an explosion of even Adidas and Under Armour getting into the picture, along with Nike and their Pro Combat uniforms. So here on screen, you're seeing some of the Maryland Pride uniforms, as well as some of the other newer ones that are getting added to this year's product.
And lots of great uniforms coming. I mean, that's the thing. It was kind of crazy this last year seeing that of every week someone coming out with something new. Oklahoma State having a whole new package and wearing different uniforms every single game. And Maryland, coming out the first game with that Pride uniform and then coming out with the turtle shell later and the matte black and all of that.
Was Oregon the first school to really start that trend recently, or was it somebody else?
I mean, Oregon led the way, definitely.
Yeah.
And it's kind of continued on from there. I mean, seeing here the chrome helmet they sent us to make sure we got that right in the game. But, you saw a school like Notre Dame last year, tradition rich. It had 3 helmets last year.
Yeah.
And so they had those under the lights, and they had the shamrock out to the side, and that one that's just super shiny, and all those different changes. And it was for us, not only trying to keep up with what they're doing, but get ahead of everything too, and working with the schools and the apparel companies, so that we'll know what 2012 is going to bring, and kind of get those to be able to be created. We're under NDA with a couple of schools for uniforms they haven't announced yet that we're going to try and get in the game and try and get represented so you'll be able to use them this year.
Very cool.
So, in addition to uniforms, what we've done this year is we've gone and expanded upon our practice facility. So we noticed that you guys have been playing 62% more in this facility, the practice facility, more so than any stadium in the game. So we wanted to expand on that. So what you're seeing is some early concepts of a facility I'm about to show you, where you'll see the indoor facility, which currently exists in game, in the background there, but out in front of it you'll see a new offensive and defensive practice fields. Again, adding more variety to the experience surrounding the practice experience. So let me show you a little flyby of a work in progress earlier this cycle when we were getting this into game for the first time.
It's nice. So you can see the other field in the background and everything.
Yep.
Yeah.
So alongside the new practice field, we've added 2 new stadiums this year. And this is, again, part of that physically based workflow that I talked about earlier, new to our sports titles, and that we're debuting on NCAA. So again, this year we introduced FAU in North Texas, both newly constructed stadiums. And part of this process...
me and green guy over here, I'm sure you're very happy to see that.
Part of this physically based process, we went right to the stadiums, and we took a laser scanner with us. And this laser scanner, we moved throughout multiple points throughout the stadium and got hyper accurate scans of the stadium architecture. And what this allows us to do is bring it back to the stadium then and make very simple line drawings of the stadium to then know exactly the height of the stadium, the pitch of the underseating, to exactly where the scoreboard is. It makes renovations easier going forward, but at the same time, this added accuracy to the stadium allows the stadium to be lit more accurately. It allows it to shadow more accurately. When we go to present it with our cameras, overall, it appears more like the broadcast presentation. So this is going to be a huge upgrade for our stadiums now and going into the future. And again, this year was all about testing this out and making sure that this is the route we want to go. But it's been an amazing workflow to work with.
Yeah, I mean, that's a great point, is that this was brand new tech for us, and the first time we've ever tried anything like this. And so it was a chance to do it on 2 brand new stadiums. And if you're outside of Denton or Fort Lauderdale, it might be stadiums that you use on a regular basis. But it's a chance to show these things off, that we can really do it this way. And then that doesn't mean that the other stadiums we've had in game, the Horseshoe, the Big House, are not correct and not to scale. These are just so close that it's that much better of an experience, and we're going to go back and start doing those other ones and kind of going out there again and remaking those stadiums in the future.
Just a quick question. How long does it take to actually get the scan in?
Knew you were going to ask that.
Yeah.
Man, we're at Mother Nature's mercy when we go to the stadium, but right now it takes about a day to scan that, but that process we've actually refined throughout this experience, and now we're down to about a half day, about 4 hours to scan a stadium. So if it rains in the morning, we can get out there in the afternoon, scan the stadium, and bring it back to the studio.
Okay.
So, I mean, and before we jump on, though, too, it's not just 2 new stadiums also. We did a number of renovations. I don't know if you want to mention those as well.
Right. Just kind of go down the list. Georgia, we've got a new video board. Iowa State. Michigan has a new scoreboard. Navy, the TV booth. NC State has a new scoreboard. North Carolina has a total new stadium expansion. Oklahoma State got a renovation. Rice, their field walls, Tulane, and the Sugar Bowl was updated, the entire lower bowl. UL Monroe and Wake Forest all got stadium renovations this year, so pretty large group of renovations.
So it's nice to always go back and kind of update things. And those that might ask, well, why didn't my school get in, or we're doing something, why isn't that there? What happens a lot of times is we get that concept art in really early. And we've done in the past, a few years ago, we'd make it off of concept art, and then the stadium would be unveiled at the opening kickoff, and it's different than what we put in the game.
Exactly.
Because the concept art had changed over time of what they actually created. So now we kind of are forced to wait until it's there, and in, and final, and done, and then we can go back and create it there. So if it didn't happen this year, it's on the list. It's going to get there. Just we need to see what it finally looks like.
And again, back to the physically based workflow. We had to wait till these stadiums got finished with their construction before we could go scan them. And again, as renovations come about, we just go back to the stadium, scan that new section, and we plop it right into game, much easier than we have been able to in the past. So what you're looking at on screen here now is the results of FAU and that laser scan. They really do look nice in game. Here's an example of North Texas, the other stadium that was scanned, and we have new for you this year.
So the lighting just off the bat does look pretty amazing, just coming off the different pieces of architecture in the stadium. Yeah,
definitely. The shadows overall allowed us to work with the asset had a lot more to work with, just in general.
Mm-hmm. And that's one thing too, is with that stadium positioning of the sun for progressive lighting, you're going to see that shadow cast across the field in a lot more gradual basis. It's not going to be all of a sudden like the field's completely open and then all of a sudden half of it's covered because the sun has moved such a dramatic spot.
Right, you'll be in the first half throwing back into the sun. Come late in the game, that sun's going to be gone. Right. It will have slowly moved right off the field, and you won't be throwing back into the sun. So moving on with some of the graphics new this year, we're continuing to introduce the ESPN broadcast package, and here is the debut of our new main menu. So many of you are familiar with this from the ESPN Mania wall. So we've taken this and made our new main menu very similar to the Mania wall. So you'll see it now play through the options. You can see the panels sliding in. Overall, this 3D UI approach to our main menu is very innovative, and it's something that we're leading the way when it comes to our sports titles.
Yeah, it's kind of an early look at it. It's not the finalized one there. Menu options and things will have changed. But yeah, no, it's a chance to see that whole thing of how we're taking ESPN's presentation package and taking that everywhere. And so you're going to pause at that press start right there.
Yep.
And then you'll be able to button press through that to be able to go in and start flying through this menu here. And yeah, it takes on that look and feel of ESPN. So you're going to see those elements throughout all of it. And it looks like, team management looks like it's a word that's built in there just like pride or tradition or anything else that they have in their actual menu wall.
So how long did it take to put this together, would you say?
We are just now polishing it. It's actually been one of the more challenging aspects of the game.
This right here looks extremely complicated.
It is. It's a behemoth of an environment to animate, to light, to make sure that, again, you're able to use this environment freely and be able to navigate between all your different options really smoothly.
Very cool.
So in addition to the broadcast presentation, we've added a number of new broadcast transitions, wipes, staying in the theme of the college football, ESPN college football package. You'll see in the upper right-hand corner the monster wipe of the college football shield. On the left-hand side, we've taken and we've added a new halftime transition. So as you go into halftime, you're getting that true, authentic ESPN experience.
And also, too, to note the one in the middle there, it is our 20th anniversary.
It is.
So we have a special wipe kind of created to commemorate that event. It's been 20 years of making college football. It's crazy.
Seems like just yesterday.
You'll see that 20th anniversary logo throughout our product, and this is actually just one example of a new transition for it. But I do have one of those to share with you today. So again, these just debuted, a couple months ago during the bowl season. ESPN introduced some new transitions, and we've already been able to get them into the product.
And so if you're watching, just watching ESPN last night and seeing these on a basketball, they're showing these in basketball, they're showing them everywhere. It's that same transition going in and out of a replay that they show. So we're able to get that from them early and get that into the game.
Yeah, it looks great too. One last thing I wanted to mention with you, for you guys, was for all of our NIS sequences, or when you're in Road to Glory, you'll notice all the players. Once in a while you might see the same guy. Well, what we've done is we've gone and expanded on our generic head library, adding several new heads, so that, again, adding variety to the experience, so that you're not seeing the same player over and over. So again, just some examples of those new heads that are going to game.
So yeah, when you're creating a player or editing a player, instead of having 5 choices for a head, you're going to have 100 plus. So it's a nice addition that way.
Yep.
Very cool. Okay, we have a question for you from Operation Sports. We took a few that they sent us, and I'm going to ask you this one. Will the trophy presentation only feature the Heisman Trophy, or will it show off all the other ones?
Well, I kind of already revealed that early on in the presentation, but so we've got a number of new trophy celebrations that you saw a little earlier. Again, the little brown jug, the shillelagh. Well, in addition to those, I've got some visuals here to show you guys just how some of the others turned out. But I'll just run down the list real quick. So we've got the Paul Bunyan statue trophy. We've got Floyd.
Floyd Rosedale.
Rosedale. Iowa versus Minnesota.
Giant pig.
We got the Golden Boot, Arkansas versus LSU. The Sanford Axe, Cal versus Stanford. The Little Brown Jug, as I mentioned, Minnesota, Michigan. The Golden Hat, the Shillelagh, the Bunyan Axe, Wisconsin versus Minnesota. Quite a few.
That Golden Hat, there's kind of a famous picture of Colt McCoy from a few years ago when he was kind of putting the hat on his head, and that was the kind of inspiration for that vignette to show that off. So you see the player kind of putting the hat on his head.
This image is the new Fiesta Bowl trophy.
I like that.
But it's one of those things that, adding some variety and some specialness to these rivalry games and these bowl games and that sort of thing to show off these trophies. I mean, we've had them in the game for a number of years now, just in the UI. We had a trophy case, so you could see the 3D model there, and you had all of that, but this is a chance to see them on the field and the players interacting with them. And as you see in a real rivalry game, when they're holding up that Paul Bunyan axe at the end of the game or the float of Rosedale, that's the best trophy in the game. It's so funny to see the Joel Chalet, all of those. So we wanted to have them in the game and make that a part of your in-game experience and not just what you get in the front end.
Exactly. We're trying to provide that bigger payoff. So you'll not only see these at the end of the game, but you'll also see these at the beginning of the game when we're setting up the scene, what they're playing for. You'll see that trophy sitting there on in the end zone, in the grass, that true broadcast presentation. And then we go into the game, and of course, we'll see who wins it.
Another thing to note, some people are concerned that you guys only focus on the big teams, but obviously with North Texas FAU, some of these trophies, you're representing the little guys too.
Well, I mean,
little North Texas of the world.
We're representing everybody.
Yeah.
It's a college football game for everyone, and so we want to make sure that we get everything in there. And so, I think in the past couple of years, we've talked a lot about tradition, and a lot of focus was on those pregame runouts and pregame vignettes. And so, we've kind of hit a lot of those, and we'll continue to hit more and more every year. But now it's kind of where else can we go, and how else can we appreciate and enhance the total experience. And so you're seeing things like the lighting changes, you're seeing things like the trophies on field, and stuff like that that's really helping that overall feel. And also, uniforms. These guys are killing us with these uniforms.
Well, this year we'll be delivering more uniforms than last year.
Yeah.
Over 230 unique pieces in the product. And then as far as, traditions and new NIS sequences, we've delivered over 80 this year.
Yeah, and seeing some of those uniforms coming in, it's awesome to see those things that you saw last year. And even some of the new stuff we can't quite show off yet, and seeing what those are, because it is such a part of college football, and you're seeing all those things where schools are taking on all new identities. And you've got a school like Ohio last year coming out with a matte black helmet and jersey, and you saw a video of those kids when that was revealed to them. They were going nuts. It was the coolest thing that's ever happened for them. They were going crazy about the fact that they're going to have this alternate black uniform, and we want to have those sort of moments in the game where you can kind of have a chance to wear those same pieces. So it was really nice for us.
Very cool. Well, Jeff, we appreciate it. We're going to take a short little break here to check out a video, and when we come back, we're going to have Christian McLeod to talk about audio for you guys. Once again, go vote for the cover of NCAA Football 13. Today is the last day. You can do that through the end of the day, and the winner will be announced on April 16th. Once again, it's down to Herschel Walker versus Barry Sanders. We'll be right back.
Quick change.